Every morning, millions of people wake up to the sound of an alarm, rush through breakfast, fight traffic, and spend the next 8 hours working. It's such a normal routine that we rarely question it. But for more than 99% of human history, none of this existed. There were no offices, no bosses, no schedules, and certainly no 9-to-5 jobs. So what did people actually do all day? Were they constantly struggling to survive, or did they have more free time than we do today? The answer may completely change the way you think about work and about your own life. Imagine waking up 20,000 years ago. There is no alarm clock pulling you out of bed, no inbox full of emails, no morning commute through traffic. The sun, not a clock, decides when your day begins. For most of human history, people didn't have jobs, at least not in the way we think about them today. There were no salaries, no time cards, and no weekends because there was no Monday to begin with. But that didn't mean people were lazy. Every day was filled with tasks that directly supported survival. In a typical hunter-gatherer community, the morning often began with deciding what the group needed most. If food supplies were running low, some adults would leave to hunt animals or gather fruits, nuts, roots, and berries. Others stayed behind to care for children, repair shelters, prepare meals, or make tools for the next hunt. Everyone had a role. Unlike modern jobs, these tasks weren't assigned by a company. They were shared responsibilities that helped the entire group survive. One of the biggest surprises is that ancient humans may not have spent as much time searching for food as many people imagine. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies, such as the Hadza of Tanzania and the San people of southern Africa, suggest that adults often spend only a few hours each day collecting enough food, though the amount varies depending on the season, weather, and available resources. The rest of the day wasn't simply free time. People repaired spears, sharpened stone tools, wove baskets, made clothing from animal skins, collected firewood, built shelters, taught children important survival skills, and strengthened social bonds through conversation, storytelling, music, and games. These activities may not look like work today, but they were essential for survival. Knowledge was one of the most valuable resources a person could possess. There were no schools or textbooks. Children learned by watching adults. They practiced making tools, tracking animals, identifying edible plants, and understanding the seasons. Every lesson increased their chances of surviving adulthood. In many ways, learning was woven naturally into everyday life. Then everything changed. Around 12,000 years ago, humans began farming. Agriculture made it possible to produce more food than hunting and gathering alone. Villages became permanent settlements. Populations grew. But farming also brought new responsibilities. Fields had to be planted, watered, protected, and harvested at exactly the right time. Animals needed daily care. Missing the planting season could mean hunger months later. Life became more predictable, but also more demanding. As civilizations expanded, people started specializing. Some became blacksmiths, potters, builders, merchants, or soldiers. Instead of producing everything themselves, they exchanged goods and services with others. This specialization allowed cities to grow, but it also meant that work gradually became separated from immediate survival. Thousands of years later came the Industrial Revolution. Factories introduced something that had never truly existed before for most people: the idea of working by the clock. Instead of finishing a task and going home, workers stayed until the shift ended. Time itself became something employers could buy. The modern workday was born. Today, many people spend 8 or more hours sitting indoors, often performing highly specialized tasks that are only one tiny part of a much larger system. We rarely see the final result of our labor, and we may never meet the people who ultimately benefit from it. This is very different from the lives of our ancestors, who could immediately see the purpose of almost everything they did. That doesn't mean prehistoric life was easier. Hunting could fail. Food could become scarce. Injuries and diseases were far more dangerous than they are today. But the rhythm of life was different. Work wasn't separated from living. Finding food, raising children, creating tools, sharing stories, and resting were all parts of the same daily experience. Perhaps the biggest difference isn't that ancient humans worked less than we do. It's that they rarely spent their days working for someone else's schedule. Instead, they worked directly for themselves, their families, and the survival of their community. And that simple difference may completely change the way we think about what a job really is. The idea of a full-time job feels completely normal today, but in reality, it's a surprisingly recent chapter in the story of humanity. For most of our existence, people didn't separate work from life. Hunting, gathering, building, teaching, and caring for one another weren't careers. They were simply part of being human. Every task had an immediate purpose, and the reward was often visible by the end of the day. Modern work has given us incredible comforts, longer lives, and technologies our ancestors could never have imagined. But it has also changed our relationship with time, purpose, and even success. So perhaps the question isn't whether ancient humans had an easier life. Maybe the better question is this: have we created a better way to live, or simply a different way to work?